When I say the word hell, what comes to mind? Do you picture vast subterranean caverns filled with unquenchable fire? Are you imagining a little red imp with horns and a pitchfork, gleefully torturing all the damned for all eternity? Earlier in this series, we learned that the human soul is not immortal, that your spirit, the spirit in man, as the Bible calls it, isn't conscious, and that the dead know nothing. To say that the wicked then burn forever in the clutches of hell goes against everything the Bible has to say on the subject. If you look in a concordance, you'll find that the Hebrew word Sheol is primarily translated into two different English words. One is hell, and the other is grave. In both instances, this word Sheol represents the symbolic domain of the dead. In other words, to be in Sheol, to be in the grave, to be in hell, is to be dead. In the Bible, a man named Job, in the middle of an extremely difficult trial, begs that God would hide him in the grave, that is, in Sheol. Now let's think about this. Job was suffering, and he was looking for a way to end that suffering. Why on earth would he then ask God to place him in some state of eternal torment? Well, he wouldn't. No sane person would. Job asked God to hide him in the grave, in hell, in Sheol, because he knew that the dead know nothing. And to him, that sounded a whole lot better than staying alive and dealing with insufferable pain. Again and again in the Bible, death is likened to sleep. We're told that King David, a man after God's own heart, fell asleep and was laid among his fathers and underwent decay. The Apostle Peter confirms that David is both dead and buried, and his tomb is with us to this day. So when David died, he died. He fell asleep. His soul began to decompose, and his spirit, as we explained in the previous video, that spirit returned to God who gave it. Nowhere in these verses is there even a hint of consciousness. David, a man after God's own heart, was buried in hell, in the grave. It's the same place where you and I are going, because it's the same place everyone goes. But the really interesting part, the truly incredible thing, is not that we're going to hell. It's that we're all going to come up out of hell. Job knew this. He begged God to hide him in the grave, but that's not all he said. He knew there was more to the story. Now here's the full quote. "Oh, that you would hide me in the grave, that you would conceal me until your wrath is past, that you would appoint me a set time and remember me. If a man dies, shall he live again? All the days of my hard service I will wait till my change comes. You shall call, and I will answer you. You shall desire the work of your hands." The book of Job, chronologically, is one of the oldest stories we have in the Bible. But it's clear, though, even all those years ago, Job knew death was not the end of the story. God will desire the work of his hands. And that, as we'll see in the next video, is when things really get interesting. To learn what God really has planned for the future of the human race, click next to continue watching this series. For further reading, be sure to download our free booklet, The Last Enemy: What Really Happens After Death.